So hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Unpacking Possibility. I'm your host Traci Stein as always. I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm really excited to introduce my guest and have you get to know him a little bit today, as I do too. My guest is Mark Winters, and by the end of this episode, you will have a whole new perspective on the intersection of music, science, and the whole range in between. So without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about Mark, and then I'll have him tell you more about himself. But Mark Winters is a Texas-based rock singer-songwriter whose music blends poetic songwriting with a background in aerospace engineering. So he's going to tell you how he tied all those things together. But Mark's been influenced by artists like John Mayer, Tom Petty, and Jason Mraz. His songs pair melodic accessibility with reflective lyrics shaped by haiku and quiet observation. And in fact, at the end of this episode, I'm going to play one of Mark's songs, Fake Gravity, which I've played like 3 times this morning, and I couldn't stop kind of like singing along to it, and you'll see what I mean when you hear it. So make sure you listen to the entire interview. But a little more about Mark. He picked up a guitar to play a song for his wife a few years ago and discovered a deep connection between songwriting and presence. And since then, his music has really grown into a body of work that draws from blues-influenced phrasing, acoustic rock sensibilities, science, and a lifelong love of poetry. I love that all of these things have come together for you. Especially haikus, even better. And these were inspired by his grandmother, who encouraged him to express himself through words. Really, there's so much there. I'm just going to tell you about a few albums: Slipstream, which came out in 2019, Boundary Layer 2022. Both of these albums explore themes of growth and motion through scientific metaphor. Awesome. While Acoustic Me, his 2025 album, strips the sound down to its most intimate form, and E=MC² came out in 2024, draws from his scientific views of the world. So I'm going to let you talk more about you, because that's going to be far more interesting. But welcome, Mark.
Hey, Traci, thank you so much for having me. It's a beautiful day here in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm out on the Good Vibes Highway tour, and looking forward to sharing more of my background with you.
I love that. And it's so funny. I want to just tell you that for whatever reason, I'm very grateful, but I'm getting a ton of requests daily now to come on the show. And I have to be thoughtful, because like I am a one-woman show. I can only sift through so many of these in a day. And I saw your email and I was like, this guy sounds so interesting. You combine all these things that on their own would be so compelling. I was hoping you would start by talking a little bit about your career as a scientist and what you were doing up until the last few years, really. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, my journey in life started with just like a fundamental curiosity, right? I love knowing about the world and how does it work, and I have this affinity for math and science, and just sort of exploring, with my curious mind, all the things that make the world tick, and that led me to study aerospace engineering in undergrad, and just love applied physics. I love flying, I love surfing, rollerblading, all the things that science helps me unpack and understand. Started my career as an aerospace engineer, doing helicopter design work and jet work and simulation design, and just really, loved doing the thing. And so, I guess my view of the world is just curious, and science helps me understand that.
I love it. It's so, I can imagine you because from what you're describing, as like a young child wanting to understand how things work and to engage with them really fully. That sounds like what you're describing.
Yeah, I think, I've always had a mechanical inclination, and so, go help my dad fix things, or my grandparents, my mom's dad was a truck driver, and, he could fix anything with wheels, and so we worked in his garage together often. And my other grandpa was an electrical engineer and a woodworker as his hobby, and I was out in the garage with him, doing woodworking and just sort of understanding, some of the essences of the world. And so I think early on, I got some good influences there to help encourage me. And from there, just I guess the affinity for math, for calculus and differential equations in particular, really helped me, dive into some deeper mysteries in the world of engineering. It's one of the reasons I chose, computational fluid dynamics. We still, even with the best AI today, we still don't understand the equations that are happening down there, and so it's a bit of a mystery.
It's really so fascinating, and we'll get in a bit to how you have really so beautifully and poetically, and I'm saying that very purposefully, how you've integrated art and science, music, poetry, your love of science, and because I think it's so important now, especially because, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, but we've entered a bit of a dark age in terms of people's science literacy or interest in science or trust of science lately. And it's kind of crazy to me because science is all about evidence and understanding things. It is not religion. It is something where we want to be curious and want to explore things and want to continue learning. But there's been a little bit of a resistance, I feel like, to science last few years. Do you feel that way?
I think that's a lot to unpack. I'd say from a high level, I think there's a lot of curiosity about science still. I think there's a big difference, in my opinion, between people who just don't care about science, right? They just don't. They just want someone to tell them the thing, right? How does the thing? Tell me the button to push, right? That's that. And so those people who have that sort of philosophy, they have other interests and in other areas in their life that they pursue. And so I think there's a lot of people who, as technology advances, just don't have to understand. And I liken it to, like, in my mind, the transition from cars that people could work on. This is an experience like I had with my grandpa. Give me a wrench and a hammer and a screwdriver, and I can dig into my car and do the thing. I can change my own oil. I can change the spark plugs, and so I can understand how a motor or a car works. And so there's this. There's a group of people who were DIY, and everybody could just sort of do the thing. And then cars advance. You can't do that anymore. You can't do that with a car, right? It's a computer. It runs the whole thing. Aircraft the same way, right? The aircraft are run by computers. And so, you can't get in there and mechanically understand and adjust your own vehicle anymore. And so I think we could say, hey, there's a fundamental shift away from understanding work cycles in an engine and how fossil fuel based engines work and whatever. So you could say that. Well, I don't think that's the case. I think it's become more and more and more specialized. And so the average person can't just casually do the thing. You have to really start specializing early, and you have to dig in. And so you can still get at the science. It takes a lot more effort, and I think that there's a barrier that's out there that prevent people from really digging in. And I think that's happening everywhere, Traci. I think it's in pharmaceuticals, it's in mechanical design, it's in AI in general. I think so. Just the level of curiosity and the level of understanding that you have to have personally to dig into some of these things is just a lot more, And for my science mind, I'm my curious mind, I'm super curious, and I don't care what the barrier is. I'm digging in. I'm going to learn, and so I'm probably not normal in that regard, because I'll just dig in anyway and figure the thing out. But a lot of people don't have that same view, and I think technology is just making it easier than just to not understand it and be okay with that, right? But then I think you get some of that fundamental distrust you were talking about. Like, okay, I was thinking about like self-driving cars. How many people do you know who just won't get in them, right? I mean,
Understandably.
I know plenty of people who won't get in them. But you know what? If the whole world was using Waymo, we probably would be safer. But we have this fundamental distrust of things that we don't understand. And so I think that continues to grow as the gap is out there. So I don't know. My monologue on technology. There you go.
No, I think that was so great too, and it's I think I'm thinking about it too, like science in terms of medicine and things like that. That's where I've really noticed it. In healthcare, but you're right though, because in every sphere, the technology is advancing so rapidly. It is, even for people who are naturally curious and have some sort of intellectual skill set where they might be able to unpack some of the more nitty-gritty details of things. It is potentially overwhelming. It is daunting, and there's so much information that's bombarding us every day. It is hard to keep up. So I'm grateful for people like you who are still curious and still want to kind of understand, how do these things work?
Yeah. And I think, as you unpack AI, I have these two shifting views, right? So, in my journey, my grandparents were influential on both sides of my brain. My grandma taught me to write poetry when I was a kid and to paint, and so I have this little small bit, of creativity that's been sort of riding along with me as I went through my life. And we've been poetry pals and painting pals my whole life, but it's been kind of a minor piece. And as I step into the world of music, it's the first time where the creative side of me gets to balance out the scientist in me in a way, to sort of, because it takes both parts of me to make music. And so as I think about things now, I have a much stronger philosophical view of a situation to balance against the scientific curiosity. And I think AI is challenging both parts of me at the same time, which is kind of cool. The scientist in me loves it, and I can learn anything I want all the time, and I can. So it's really cool. I can do a ton of things that I never could do. From a productivity point of view, but at the same time, the poet in me is like, well, if AI is doing all these things and making all these, easy red buttons for you to push to do the thing, what are you doing, Mr. Human? I don't know. What's your job now?
So well said, though, and such great points. I'm gonna, just as a quick aside, I was talking to somebody yesterday who shared a Gregorian chant by nuns, and I have to tell you, it was so beautiful. Like, it almost brought tears to my eyes. And then I went and I looked up the artist, and it's this young man who seems very lovely and very spiritually oriented. But the compositions are AI generated. I believe the voices are as well. And I just thought, oh my God, I don't know how to sit with that, because there is some level of soul that I feel like comes through human songwriting that is, I think, different. I'm not expressing that well, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think, I'm a member of a number of songwriting associations, and we've all had to process from an artistic point of view and a professional point of view, what does AI mean in the creative world? And so that's my frame of reference when it comes to that sort of topic. Now, for me, I'm lucky in that I started my journey late as an adult, right? So not as a kid. And so, and I started writing in 2019, so I haven't been writing that long and producing music. And so for me, it's new and I'm curious and I want to master my craft. And so I still want to learn everything to, to make sure that I'm competent. And so I'm coming at this whole journey watching AI unfold. I understand it. I use it every day. I've used AI in a variety of different settings. I've hesitated using it in the raw creative moments. And so, like, I have a thing to say, I write the melody, I write the lyric, and then what I have been using AI for is to produce a demo, right? Like, okay, I need to make a demo out of this, and I can make the demo in 17 different genres just pushing one button, right? And it changes the way that the song lands, if it's country or if it's rock or if it's folk. And so you get a chance to explore, like you would with a producer, all these different incarnations of your music. But there is a fundamental difference in that I don't want to be a producer. If I wanted to be a producer, that might offend me, right? Because that's the producer's job. And so I think as we're moving forward, there's a lot of AI creations that are occurring, movies and song, and I think there's AI singers that you can select. And so, if you're not a singer and you're a writer, it's great. It's a great tool for
Right.
you, right? And so it's a great way for you to express yourself that you couldn't normally do. But it also kind of takes away from that. I think that, Traci, that's one of the reasons I love being out in a live room. I'm on tour. I love being out in a room. I get to breathe the same air as my fellow humans. I get to take it all in. I get to meet people where they are, and we all get to go on a journey together. And that's one of the reasons I just love being out in a live room. I think there is a fundamental human connection that goes with, singing a song and being a part of that journey with a group. That's amazing. I'm not sure. I guess at some point maybe there'll be a robot out there playing piano or singing, and maybe people will like that, right? I would say, I almost want to say it's like you could play a show like as a working musician. You could play a show, and you're like background music. You're at a winery and you're playing an acoustic backing track, or you're playing the piano, or you're singing cover songs that are familiar, but you're part of the ambiance. And so in a setting like that, that might be how you earn a living. That might be your thing. But in a setting like that, people aren't necessarily there to connect in that setting, right? Or they may not be, maybe less inclined to connect. When you come to a ticketed show and you're there in a theater and you're there to be a part of the experience, in those rooms, I feel like the sense of human connectivity is the strongest, and that's where I want to be.
It's so great, and again, really the word that keeps coming to mind is integration. Because you really do that in such a unique way. In a little bit, I want to talk more about your live shows, and we're going to definitely post links to where people can find out more about you and get tickets, and also purchase your music. But as you're talking about connection, I'm thinking again, like early on, even as you were immersed in math and science, which can feel a bit impersonal, I think, to some people, especially if they're outside that realm. But you had such a deep connection to the important people in your life. Your grandma, who, like how crazy beautiful that she was teaching you about poetry, and you were writing together from early on and creating haikus, and that you have kept that thread with you well into adulthood and now into this part of your music. I feel like I want to kind of get a little bit clearer image of your grandma.
Yeah, Dean C. Winters, an amazing woman, a nurse by day, and a poet and a painter at night. Just a super encouraging and amazing woman. she had lots of great wisdom, life wisdom to share, and she always had a good, listening ear, right? She would, meet you where you were. I think just a kind soul. I remember my poetry journey. We were out there in East Texas with her for the summer, and I remember sort of coming out of a trance. I was outside chasing lizards with my brothers, and the next thing I knew, I'm in her sewing room, and I'd just written a poem, which I didn't intend to do. Like, okay.
How old are you at this point?
I was 5, yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, and I'd written a poem about lilies, and so I'm like, okay, I wrote this poem, and then I read it, and I'm like, oh, I kind of like this poem. I'm kind of proud of it, and I wanted to read it to her. And so that sort of started my journey, my creative journey. Just someone who's been there. I would get a note from her from time to time, hey, call your grandma, right? Or a poem or something like that. And so just a special relationship for me. And like a little small, like a lifeline, for me. I have a mixed up brain, and so I'm ambidextrous. I do things with both hands, and I have to I pick a thing to do, by trying it out until I figure out which hand's the right one. And so poetry, is a left-handed thing for me, and painting is a left-handed thing for me. And when I'm doing anything with my left hand, I always think of my grandma, right? And so, I think just a lot of great thoughts around my dad's mom.
That's just beautiful. When we come, we're going to have to take a quick break, because we always do. But when we come back, I want to talk about another important relationship that really kind of ushered in your music career. So we'll take a quick break, and it's a great time for people to like and subscribe to the podcast and leave a little comment. But we'll be back in a few moments. Stay tuned.
Maybe gravity's fake. You lift me up, you hold me down. It don't make sense, but it's truer now than any force on earth. Too strong to break. And if you're really real, maybe gravity's fake.
All right, welcome back. I am here with scientist and musician and creative person all around, Mark Winters. Mark, I'm still thinking about your grandma, because I just love that story. I was really close to my grandmother as well, and I still remember those early moments and how great it felt to be in her very loving presence. So I love that story. I want you to talk a little bit about how, you're still a scientist by day in 2017, 2019.
Well, 2019, yeah.
And there was another important relationship that kind of ushered in your journey into more formally into the world of music. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, music as the backstory, has always been a part of experiences for me. I love listening to music when I'm studying, or when I'm, rollerblading or surfing or whatever I'm doing out in the world. I love it. I think it potentiates the moment for me, right? And so I'm a pretty goal-oriented person, and so I put "Do Something Musical" on my 2011 to-do list, right, on my New Year's resolutions. And so May rolls around. I hadn't done anything yet, and I'm like, all right, get with it. And so I decided I'm gonna sing a song for my wife for our anniversary. That's what I'm gonna do. And so I found a local guitar shop and bought a guitar, and thought I had plenty of time, 2 months, to learn to play the song and to sing it for my wife.
I'm sorry, you didn't know how to play guitar before then? You just
No.
decided, I'm going to do this, and now I have to play an instrument. Holy
do the
Toledo.
thing. Do the thing, right? And so I conspired to. I took her out to our favorite Italian restaurant. Our anniversary's in July, and so I had learned it on this. I had learned in secret to play the song. She didn't know what I was doing, and I couldn't remember the lyrics to sing them and the chords, and it was all so new. So I made a giant anniversary card that had the lyrics and the music embedded in it, which was kind of fun. And I sang the song to her in our favorite Italian restaurant, and it was just so magical, Traci. The human connection I got in that moment was just something transcendent, something I had never felt before. After that moment, I started chasing that feeling. Like, what was it? Was it the room? Was it her? Was it the guitar? Was it singing? What was it? So I started chasing that feeling, and put a little band together and started playing some songs, and I found myself over time starting to realize. Well, first thing was when I was singing, I would change the lyrics to songs because I'm a poet. Words matter, and so I'm positive, right? I mean, I'm inherently a positive creature, and so I couldn't sing songs that were mean or whatever. So I would find a few little words to change the song enough where I could sing them, and people started getting irritated with me for doing that. Write your own songs, right? Yeah, like, okay, fine, I'll write my own song then. And so I started writing my own music, I just draw from inspiration when I was doing it. My wife, had obviously we had a lot of great shared experiences, and so I wrote some of my early music. Was sort of inspired. My Copper Queen. My wife has red hair, and so she's like the surfing cool girl. And so some of my early music, it was about her and or life experiences that we were having together. And I was exploring at the time. I didn't know my voice. I mean, I'm an adult. I never played music before. What's my sound? What's my voice? What do I want to say? I didn't know. And so I have a little bit of rock and a little bit of something more thoughtful, and introspective. And so in my first album, I just sort of was exploring. And then as I started leaning more and more into finding that moment, that connection, right? As I started leaning more in, I found myself really connecting with people when I was singing, and when the instrumentation wasn't a lot. And so I started backing away from, it was kind of moderate rock, soft rock, to a little more, of a singer-songwriter acoustic vibe. And that just started, really connecting with me. And so I think, as I start leaning more into the music side of things, and that starts becoming my career, that's what I really love, and that's why I was out touring last year, and I'm touring this year, just sort of, developing that community out in North America, and having an amazing time doing it, carrying a little bag of protons with me along the way, and sharing them out in each of these rooms. So yeah, a lot of fun.
That's really just amazing. I'm sitting here, by the way, thinking, holy cow, you didn't read music before you decided I'm going to write and perform a song with an instrument I don't yet play for my wife in 2 months. I mean, that's kind of like a crazy thing. But you're so, like you said, you're positive, you're optimistic, you're curious, and you like you like kind of solving puzzles, metaphorically. So you just decided to do it. I think that's just pretty amazing.
I've always been kind of, I don't know. I guess I do look before I leap, but I decide to leap, I'm leaping, and so I have to look a lot, really intently as I'm leaping, right? But yeah, I love being out there, and I don't know. There's so many amazing experiences and people and things to do in this world. I wish I had 10 lifetimes to do them all, right? It's just there's just so many things that are cool.
Everyone should have even a fraction of your enthusiasm and excitement about it. In all seriousness, we could all benefit from that. I think it's just great. Mark, I want you to talk about some of the lyrics to your songs, because I was very intrigued by the fact that you make science interesting, catchy, and approachable. And that's not always easy for people to do, for people who, like somebody who's a non-scientist, can enjoy, appreciate, and sing along to your music. So Fake Gravity, we mentioned, we're going to post that at the end of the episode. Make sure you stay tuned, people. Velocity. Talk about some of the lyrics to some of your songs and how you integrate science.
Yeah. It's like, it's the way my brain sees the world. I'm thinking about, I'm driving from Ruidoso, New Mexico to Santa Fe, and I'm late for a show, and I'm daydreaming and got my cruise control on, and my car starts slowing down, and I kind of come out of my trance and take the cruise control off and put some more gas on, and it's not going anywhere still, right? I'm pulling a trailer, and I'm in a windstorm. I didn't realize it. We don't have windstorms in Houston. We have hurricanes. You stay inside for those. And so I'm like, okay. And so I tried to push some more gas, and my car just wasn't going to go. I was like in it, like a 50-mile-an-hour headwind.
Oh my
right?
God.
And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm late, and I'm a little anxious for being late. And then I have to sort of, all right, unwind a little bit. You can't, what are you going to yell at the wind? I mean, I'm a physicist,
That'll be the
right?
next song.
I know that, right? I know, right? Okay, your drag coefficient is too high with your trailer, and your engine's not enough, and you don't, so I understand the physical phenomena. So you know what? Just slow down, because, drag is exponential. So the faster you're going, the more aggressive the drag behind you ramps up, and so you're not going to win, right? So just find your Zen moment. And so I started thinking about, okay, well, life is pushing against me a little bit, right? Here I am, I'm on this journey. I'm trying to keep up my velocity, right? I'm trying to keep moving, and life's pushing against me, which happens. And so you have to kind of learn to ride the highs and face the lows. The winds, sometimes they may turn, but they may never slow, right? And so, lyrically in my song Velocity, that's kind of the journey. I think about relationships and how life pushes against those. And so the song starts off with, perfume in the wind brushes my face, takes me back to our first embrace, right? And so I'm sort of remembering the moment of a new relationship, and then as I'm progressing forward, like, okay, life starts pushing against us, and so keeping my velocity is harder than it seems. The wind is always pushing, against my sanity, right? But I think, I can overcome all those currents if I have the love that I need, right? Keeping my velocity is always an option, right? And so, it's just kind of how my brain thinks of the world. So I'm not like, as a matter of fact, I have to dial it down, Traci. I write songs, and I wrote this song called Triangulation. It's going to come out later in the year. It's like, okay, if I put too much science in the song, it's totally non-relatable, right?
Right.
And my songwriting group back in Houston were like, what is that song about, dude? Come on. Who writes a song about triangulation? I'm like, well, that's how I see the world, right? And so I've had to let my poet brain sort of find interpretive, moves in the lyric to bring out a concept, like we were talking about, fake gravity. I told my wife I was going to write this nerdy little love song, right? I hadn't written the song in a minute about her, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to write it, and it's going to be super nerdy, and I'm going to put all the nerd words I can put in it, right? Because that's just the way I see the world. And she's like, people aren't going to want to hear that. I decided I wanted to put a little bit of some pop sensibility into it, right? So that it had some catchiness. And
It's so catchy.
Yeah. A friend of mine, Nash Overstreet, I love co-writing, by the way. And so Nash is more of a pop writer than I am. And so we conspired to create a really cool, catchy pop, vibe. And the song is about this sense of attraction that we feel for people, which is mystical. I don't know. To me, you see someone, and there's this sense of attraction, and it's like a gravitational attraction, right? How many people? Do you really know what gravity is? And we know it's there, but it's very mystical too, right? And so there's this sense of attraction, and in my mind, it's more powerful because you have this notion of standing on a high cliff, and you're looking over the edge, and there's this sense that gravity's trying to pull you down over the cliff, right? It's really irrational. Gravity's not changing. It's there, right? It's a constant. It's pulling you right it's just down to the center of the earth. It's got its thing. It knows what it's doing, right?
It does.
But you have this notion, and so to me, that's the closest thing to this sense of attraction that you feel to another human being, and and to me that's more powerful than physics. That you can have this attraction to someone, and so the sense that, well, if that's real, right? If that's the real force in the world, then maybe physics is fake, right? And so the song has this sort of concept baked in, and then I play around a lot with you lift me up, you hold me down, right? Gravity elements, right? It don't make sense, right? But it's truer now than So it's got this sense of I guess mysticalness, and the sense of you're unsure what is it? I don't know what it is, but it's this attraction. It's a totally fun. It's one of my favorite songs to play live. I get a chance to. I can do looping with it, right? So I can loop this percussive beat on my guitar, and I can play this hook. I can play the piano. It's got really cool piano parts. It's a ton of fun.
So great. And it's funny because we chatted briefly, as I often do before we started recording, and I'm just going to out myself. I would identify as more new agey than probably your average person, and we talked about how that's not really your thing, but you are a deeply spiritual person. And I love that you have used in this interview words like transcendent. I forget, there's some other word that you used that I was like, oh, you're really talking about something that is just beyond the self. It's greater than any of us as an individual. And that human connection and how important that is, our connection to each other. And I really appreciate that. I really do. And I'm going to ask you two weird questions. You don't have to answer them. They're not that weird. So whatever you think I'm going to ask, it's not that weird, but it's probably weirder than the average interview question. And one is, do you dream in music? And the other is, do you think music can affect change on a broader level. So what do you think?
I think I do have dreams that are musical in nature. A few of my melodies have come from dreams. And so, I have multicolored, crazy dreams. I have all kind of variety of dreams. And, in the mornings, I love to wake up before I turn my phone on, before the world assaults me, grab a nice cup of coffee and watch the sunrise and sort of, listen to myself. What am I thinking? What do I want to do today? And in those moments, I do have some good recollection of my dreams. And I think, I do have some dreams. They're not all musical, right? But definitely have some that are. And, some of my melodies have come, from those. Your second question about, music change. Yeah, Traci, music can change things. Like I played a show, last night, and I'm listening to the room, and it's a listening style room, and it's an all original show, and so I'm where do I start? Where are people? And as I start playing, people settle in and they start listening, and there's this energy in the room, and I feel like we come together by my second song, and people are on this journey with me, and there's a few more smiles in the room, and there's a few more people looking at moments in the song at each other like, oh, we're feeling that too, right? And I think about these extra protons that I brought into the room. They're diffusing out in the room and creating their magic, and I'm feeling like, okay, when the room finishes, so a lot of camaraderie that's developed in the room, and so we've got this sense of connection, and I'm pretty sure that people are going to take those extra protons out to their community and share them. And so in that little room in Northern Oregon, change happened, right? And it was together
100%.
in a sense of community, right? And so I think music on a broader scale probably can do that as well. I haven't experienced that yet, but for sure I've seen it, and I feel like it definitely can be a change agent, and it can be a change agent for ill or for good, and I choose the good, right?
Absolutely. I want to give you a little recognition for, I listened to another interview you did, because I tend to like to do that, because it helps give me a sense of somebody and what's important to them and what makes them tick. And I remember that you mentioned that part of your musical work that you do is works of service. So food banks, prisons. I mean, to me, that alone is changing the world, right? Anything that we do to try and bring joy or uplift the energy in a space, whether you want to think about it as emotional energy or spiritual energy or whatever, or just change people's thinking a little bit in a positive way, I think that changes the world. So I just wanted to, give you a little shout out about your other ways you express your music.
Well, thank you. I feel like there's so many ways for everyone to be a little bit kinder to each other and a little more considerate, and wherever I have an opportunity to do that, I'm down for that for sure.
That's so great. So, Mark, I'm going to put everything in the show notes about where, again, people can find your music and information where you'll be appearing live and more. Anything coming up in the next few weeks or months that you want to let people know about?
Yeah, I'm out on the Good Vibes Highway Tour, and I've got about 60 shows in the spring, and I'll be back home in June. But between now and then, I have quite a few shows. I'm headed up into Canada, and then I'm making a run down the coast of California and sort of zigzagging my way back to Houston. So I'd love to have people out for a show and have some of those shared energy moments. That would be awesome. And then I do have some new music coming out over the summer, and I would invite people to catch some of those tunes on their favorite streaming platform. But yeah, I'm excited to be out on tour and to be in the moment.
So great. Also, I'm going to totally make you laugh. I was thinking, should I share this? Should I not? And I've never done this before, but I'm in a nothing ventured, nothing gained mode apparently. But as I was listening to your music today and really enjoying it, I'm on Twitter. I never tweet. I don't know. I don't even know why I have any followers because I don't really share much. But I shared your Spotify and tagged NASA and Neil deGrasse Tyson because I was like, this guy is a scientist who, writes music and performs music, including about science. So we'll see if it gets any traction.
What?
It may not. It may not because, you really become invisible if you're not active on that platform. But if it goes somewhere, I'm going to feel like, oh my God.
That would be amazing. Yeah, thank you for sharing, for sure.
Because, why not, right? Yeah. I'm but I think it's so funny that I tagged Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's not like we know each other. But, who knows? Maybe now, right? Maybe the three of us.
That would be awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm amazed at how many people I find, out in the crowd when I'm playing a show who are actually the fellow scientists, right? They're engineers, or they're scientists, and they come up afterwards like, hey, we're vibing with this part of your song, right? Most everyone likes this part of the song, but they're like, oh, we really like this little bit right here because we're fellow scientists or fellow nerds with you, and so that's kind of an amazing moment.
God,
yeah,
it's like being in the inner circle of knowing. Oh, my goodness. Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been so nice to get to know you and chat with you and hear more about your journey and your work. I really appreciate your making the time for this.
Thank you for having me, Traci. And if I'm coming through your neck of the woods, I'd love to say thank you in person for a show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, this has been another episode of Unpacking Possibility. If you enjoyed the episode, and I know you did, please remember to like, share, follow, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. And of course, as you know, as always, I wish you well. And stay tuned for Fake Gravity by Mark Winters.
Thank you, Traci.
I'm standing on a cliff looking down at the ocean's break. I feel a new weight pulling down. Something's changed. If everything's black and white, why do neurons fly through my mind? I can feel our worlds collide when you whisper close. I'm accelerating out of reality. Maybe gravity's fake. You lift me up, you hold me down. It don't make sense, but it's truer now than any force on earth. Too strong to break. And if you're really real, maybe gravity's fake. Vertigo can take a backseat. You make me lose control. You like too much of a good thing, and I won't let go. And if the full moon changes the tides, let it pull your body to mine. I can feel our worlds collide when you whisper close. I'm accelerating out of reality. Maybe gravity's fake. You lift me up, you hold me down. It don't make sense, but it's strong to break. And if you're really real, maybe gravity's fake. I'm like metal to a magnet. It's like air, but I can grab it. And I'm down with the static. I stay shocked by the way you lift me up, you hold me down. It don't make sense, but it's truer now than